The anti-labor world's greatest newspaper will always be here for you. So come on.
That's correct.
Come on, man.
That's correct.
Come on, man.
Why do I keep picking it up now? Keep picking it up now. Why do I keep picking it up now? Keep picking it up now. Why do I keep picking it up now? I was just 5 watching Channel 9 for the cartoons, and I stayed for the lies. Open up wide, take a look inside, keep an open mind. Anti-labor world's greatest newspaper, never gonna go away. So come on.
Come on, man. Come on, man.
Why do I keep picking it up now? Keep picking it up now. Why do I keep picking it up now? Keep picking it up now. Why do I keep picking it up now? Keep picking it up now. Why do I keep picking it up now? Picking it up now. Why do I keep picking it up now?
Illinois is a state with a grand history of profound impact on our nation and our world. The first cell phone was invented here. So was the first television remote control.
Oh, cool. That was random. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the show. Your Ben Joravsky show for Wednesday, September 2nd. Is just moments away. You doing good over there?
Why do I keep picking it up now? Love that song so much. Singing along. I know I'm doing my Ray Davis imitation. Michael Girardi. That may be my favorite Michael Girardi. Keep picking it up. Now, I've been asking myself that question, Michael Girardi, since the 1970s.
Well, I'm gonna have to ask you to put it down because we got a show to do. Picking it up, put it down. All right.
I got a lot of Tribune references. This is called a tease, D. All right?
Okay.
I think they teach us in first day of radio school. You want to do a tease at the start of every show. A lot of Tribune references coming up in a little bit, ladies and gentlemen. Lots of them.
Lots of them. Your Ben Joravsky. Oh, by the way, Michael Girardi, to find those songs. We have a new Michael Girardi song to play today, by the way. He sent me one. He snuck one in the middle of the night on Monday at like 3 in the morning. So, and it kind of got by me. I saw it last night. Michael Girardi, we are going to play your song when we take our break and before we get to Monroe Anderson. A brand new Michael Girardi song for everyone to hear. A world premiere on the Ben Joravsky Show today, Ben.
I'm excited. I don't know if it can be as good as Keep Picking It Up Now. I love that song, man. And it really gets at the essence of my struggle, my compulsion to read mainstream media, and my disdain with what I usually read. Oh, my God.
And, you know, Mr. Girardi, I'm looking here, including this new track that's not posted on Bandcamp yet. I'm sure it will be. But including that track, you will have 8 songs exclusively for the Ben Joravsky Show. 2 more, dude, and I say you got a full-fledged album, my friend. So keep it coming. We're going to play Michael Girardi's newest song in the break. And download or hear Michael Girardi songs on your own without hearing it on the Ben Joravsky Show. Just go to Mike Girardi, Gerardi, Bandcamp. Just put that in Google, and it should take you right there. Download it, play it, tell all your friends, cruise around in your car with it. With the last days of summer, roll the windows down. Oh, why do I keep picking it up? Ben, you do it too. And spread the word. Michael Girardi, you're awesome. We can't thank you enough. You helped us out when we were in a pinch, man, because we couldn't play a lot of music. You know what I mean?
We couldn't play any music without some lawyer writing us a letter. And I'll tell you what, if Girardi gets real popular, we're going to get a lawyer from Dewey, Cheatham Howe. About my client, Mr. Girardi, this is what's known as a cease and desist. No more. Why do I keep picking it up now? They'll probably come in and take me away in handcuffs for singing it. Why do I keep picking it up? I love that song.
All right. And so go find those Michael Girardi songs at Bandcamp. All right. Let's get this show on the road here. Your Ben Joravsky Show for Wednesday, September 2nd. It's just moments away. But let's thank these unions before we go any further for sponsoring this program. Unions like the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 9, the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 150 are sponsors, as well as our dear, dear friends at the Chicago Federation of Labor. All right, we had one song of the day request, but I guarantee you don't know any songs off of the PlayStation game Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2.
Are you kidding? I was playing it all. Like when Michael Girardi was sending that thing in at 3 in the morning on Monday, I was playing that game. So what's the song? Which one is it, D?
He said any song off of the Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 soundtrack. I know you don't know any of them.
No,
I in fact have played the game several times, and I know damn near all of them. But
this is my favorite song from the Tony Hawk play game or whatever. Here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Tell me why you cry. Come on, everybody. And why you lie. Yeah, that's in there, D. You didn't know that? Yeah, that old Beatles song. Every now and then they throw that in there.
Must have been a hidden track. The Ben Joravsky Show starts now. It is Wednesday, September 2nd, and live from my apartment and Ben's attic, this is the Ben Joravsky Show. Today on the program, former 2019 mayoral candidate and activist Jamal Green returns, and legendary Chicago journalist Monroe Anderson. And now your host, Chicago Raider columnist, Ben Joravsky.
Hello, everybody. Ben Joravsky here. We're calling this MAGA Envy Wednesday, and here's why. Been watching dispatches from Wisconsin since I woke up this morning. Can't help but the papers are filled with them. Donnie Trump came to Kenosha. Usually flyover country. He's in Wisconsin, so that's big news. We're somebody. The president is here. Oh, my goodness. I've made it. We're all like Steve Martin in The Jerk. Get our name in the phone book. We're running around. Yay! Donnie Trump came to Wisconsin. I matter. My beloved bright one must have sent half the newsroom to Kenosha. I could just see a gathering. And the Commander Fusco, get out there, go to Wisconsin. Dude, I got a bus, get out there. They had like 6 people in Wisconsin.
Commander Fusco.
He's the guy in charge. All right. I'm surprised he didn't send you up there. Hey, you, Dr. D, go to Kenosha. Okay, boss. Pictures, stories, videos. And how about Jamal Green? Dennis just mentioned him. Former mayoral candidate, the pride and joy of Englewood, right here in Chicago. He's on the front page of two newspapers, the Tribune and the New York Times. D. He's on the front page of the New York Times. Here, I'm going to show you. Here it is. Here he is on the front page. Oh, wait. No camera. Hate when that happens. So Jamal went to MAGA country to stand up for humanity. God bless you, Jamal. I appreciate you doing that. And he got his picture taken arguing with a woman in a USA t-shirt with a flag on it. She's holding another flag in her hand just to make sure everybody knows she loves the flag. They're having some kind of argument. We'll get to what that argument was.
Maybe
all
they're
about
not having an argument. Maybe they're swapping recipes or something. I don't know. You can just see the picture. You know, it looks like they're just talking, right?
Dude, what are you smoking? And can I have some of it, man? He got up early, was chopping wood, and smoked some bond.
Okay. Didn't do any of that.
She is in his face. And here's the thing, D. Jamal has the mask. MAGA woman has no mask in the picture. And she has her hands on Jamal's shoulder. A little touchy-feely, ma'am. Don't you know we're in a pandemic? And that's when I realized I have MAGA envy. I envy Donnie Trump supporters. They have a man of power who they love beyond words, a man they worship. So they had a vision what it was like for a guy like, tribute columnist Johnny Cass. Every day he wakes up and his MAGA man is in the White House and he falls to his knees and says, thank you, Lord, for bringing me my MAGA. And if you're a MAGA man like Johnny Cass or a MAGA woman like the woman touching Jamal's shoulder, you believe that you don't have to wear a mask. You believe that Trump will protect you from the virus because the virus is not real. It's a hoax concocted by Democrats to undercut Donnie's campaign. I want to believe that, D. I want to believe that there's a MAGA man in the White House who could protect me from anything that befalls our nation. I haven't had a politician that I really, truly loved since Harold Washington, and that was in 1983. You weren't even born yet, D.
I was born in 1983.
Well, you were born in the second part of the year. So technically speaking, you were not yet born. You may have been conceived, but you were not yet born. Think about that distinction. Anyway, that's a long time. No matter whether he was born or not, it was a long time ago. There's more. This gets to the Tribune. All right, D, here's the Tribune. Home delivered as always.
Get a good look at that newspaper, listeners.
A picture of a Black Lives Matter supporter fighting with a Trump supporter at Civic Center Park in downtown Kenosha, Wisconsin, after the visit of President Donald Trump. Dude, these guys are flat out having a fist fight. All right? I want to say one more time, we're in a pandemic, ladies and gentlemen. Pandemic. They're having a freaking fist fight. MAGA hat man is not wearing a mask. And he's throwing around. And this picture has him really connecting, but it looks like a good punch to the anti-MAGA man's head. But here's the deal. The Black Lives Matter supporter has a mask, and MAGA man is using that mask against him. He's pulling the mask to choke the guy. All right? So MAGA man is trying to use the mask to his advantage in a fight, as opposed to wearing it to protect himself and everybody else from the virus. And I have this vision of Trump supporters all over America looking at this picture and saying, finally a mask comes in handy. By the way, I went, D, I did the download. I went to the computer. You'd be very proud of me. Went to the internet. I saw the video of the fight. And when you see...
Way to go.
I know. What can I say? Just call me Zuckerberg. Anyway, in the video... yes, MAGA man gets in that first punch, but after that, Tribune, I just got to say, man, the Black Lives Matter guy kind of whooped MAGA man's booty. I'm just saying, D, all right? But here's the thing that caught me. This has got nothing to do with anything. Surrounding the two fighters is everybody else, including a large contingent of media people with cameras, all kinds of cameras. They reminded me of kids back in junior high. You know, when a fight would break out in the hallway, and instead of trying to break it up, everybody would surround and go, ooh, humbug, they're fighting. Oh, yeah, man, give it to them. So here's a quick media ethics question. If you're the reporter filming that, is your first responsibility to film the fight? I do not interrupt an event while it's happening. Or do you try to break it up and protect humanity?
Well, now in 2022, there's onlookers, too, that are recording it as well with their phone. They're just like, oh, I got to get this footage on my phone. No one's trying to break it up.
Nobody's doing it. Well, in this particular case, people, eventually some people, I heard some guy in the background. It's like, you know that routine we do when we play Raylo and Lori going at it, and you and I go, hey, break it up. But there are people who are like, hey. That's what it's come to. Anyway, there's more. Yes, D. While I went, this is how you can lose an hour in a day. So I went. Okay, this is how it started. So Jamal Green, I said, Jamal, did you see that picture in the Tribune of MAGA man fighting the Black Lives Matter guy? Yeah. I also saw the video on the internet. I go, whoa, there's video on the internet? Ugh, I hadn't thought of that. See, Jamal's a millennial. So I go to the internet, I find the video, I'm watching it. Next thing I know, I'm in MAGA land on the internet, D. It's like this video connects to that, video connects to that. An hour passes, I'm watching various interviews with MAGA people in Kenosha, Wisconsin, talking about how much they love Trump and how much this moment means to them. That's why I'm filled with envy. Like if Joe Biden, I think Joe Biden is coming to Wisconsin. I'm not going to be filled with, you know what I'm saying, D? I am voting for Joe Biden. No doubt about it. Yeah. Stole my line, by the way.
Come on, man.
I've been saying man since the 60s. Anyway, I will vote for Joe Biden, but I can't get excited about it. But MAGA man loves Trump. So they have this interview with this dude. And he's wearing a Washington Redskins football jersey. And I'm thinking, oh, yeah, this guy's sending a message. Now, you think he'd be wearing a Green Bay Packers football jersey because he's in Wisconsin. He's from Wisconsin. But no, MAGA can't do that because the Packers have shown solidarity with Black Lives Matter and the Black Lives Matter movement. So he's got to figure out a way to symbolize his utter contempt for absolutely everyone who thinks black people should be treated with respect. So what does he do? He puts on an old Washington Redskin jersey. And I say old because the name doesn't exist anymore. They're not even called that anymore. The owner had to bow to corporate boycott and drop the name. But this guy's wearing the jersey, and it's part of, I just see his, now it's true, I didn't get to talk to him, D, you're absolutely correct when you say, Ben, did you talk to him? No, I didn't. But I think I can see how his mind is working. He says, I want to send a symbol. I want to send a message in defiance of cancel culture, which is what MAGA thinks happens when a country tries to come to terms with its racially challenged past. And I would say Exhibit A in a racially challenged past is symbolized by naming a football team for a derogatory name for Native Americans. MAGA won't even call them Native Americans because that's politically correct, which means it's an attempt to take considerations into the feelings of others. MAGA doesn't believe in worrying about the considerations of others, unless, of course, it's a baker in Indiana who doesn't want to sell a wedding cake to a gay couple. Then it's like, hey, man, you insensitive elitist liberals, snobs, the baker's got feelings too. What about him? Anyway, the Trump supporter in the Redskins jersey is berating the Black Lives Matter movement. And he says, and I'm quoting him, that BLM stands for burn, loot, and murder. I had to just pause for a moment. Well, and break it to him. The murder in Kenosha was committed by one of Donald Trump's most passionate supporters, Kyle Rittenhouse. He's a MAGA lover who drove up from Antioch and killed 2 people with his automatic rifle and shot another. And I'm thinking the fate of America rests in the hands of voters in Wisconsin. Will they go with Jamal's message, or will they go for the MAGA man in the Redskin jersey? I'll say this about Trump. He may not be Daniel Biss. He may not be a math genius, but he can do basic math. White people outnumber black people. So he thinks he's got this election in the bag. We We got a great show today, everybody. Yes, indeed. Jamal Green will be joining us. I saw his picture in the newspaper. I reached out immediately. I needed to know what was happening. What was that exchange about in Kenosha? What was the tone and the tenor? Did he have any hope that you could have a reasonable discussion and debate with people who show up supporting Trump? So I'll be looking forward to what Jamal has to say. And of course, it's Wednesday. Monroe Anderson will be here. He's all fired up. He's still predicting that Joe Biden will. I need a shot of Monroe every Wednesday, D, because lately I'm getting a little nervous. Getting a little nervous. Trump has settled on this scare white people into voting for him strategy. Getting a little nervous. So
I'm getting a little scared.
Yeah, it's a scary moment.
It's working.
It is. Yeah, he's got that guy out there with that Washington Redskins jersey leading the charge. Anyway, Jamal Green, Monroe Anderson. But before we do any of that, the young man from Alton, the man they just call Dennis. That's all. They just call him Dennis. With the news.
Hey guys, how's it going? And we all know no one can beat Daniel Biss. Come on, he's a genius, a wizard.
3 + 3 is 6. -3 is 3. Daniel Biss.
All right, so as Ben mentioned, we have Jamal Green coming on very shortly here. So with the time we have until then, let's find out what's happening in Chicago and or Illinois this afternoon. And I'm not sure if any of you listening looked at the local news today, but oh my, slow news day locally.
Yeah.
But I guess with all the Kenosha chaos happening at the moment, all eyes are on Wisconsin. But we do have a couple of COVID-19 updates to discuss. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker.
Now to our COVID-19 update.
Okay, hang tight, Governor. We'll get there. Just let me set you up here, bud. Yes, the governor gave another Illinois COVID-19 update. And if you're a hardcore Illinois political junkie, you already knew what some of this update would cover. Metro East Illinois, also known as Region 4 in Governor Pritzker's 5-phase strategy to safely reopen the state.
Let's begin with phase 1.
JB, come on. Now, about a month back, Metro East Illinois saw an uptick in positive COVID test results, and we've seen hardly any improvement since. So by now, you all know what that means. Yes, new safety guidelines. Here's Governor Pritzker laying it all out this afternoon.
2 weeks ago today, August 19th, stricter mitigation requirements took effect in the Metro East region, which had surpassed an 8% average positivity rate for 3 days in a row. Unfortunately, that region continues to see positivity rates of over 8%, with the current 7-day rolling average sitting at 9.6%. So as I made clear last week, as of today, Metro East Region 4 of our Restore Illinois plan will operate under stricter mitigations, the same restrictions that Region 7, that's Will and Kankakee counties, has faced since the middle of last week.
Yes, well, we all know what's going on here. People Republican politicians in Will County were accusing J.B. Pritzker last week of favoring the Metro East, giving them easier, more lenient restrictions than Will County. And it's not fair, they said. So bizarre. I mean, the Republican Party in the state of Illinois has not legitimately joined the effort to protect citizens of Illinois from the virus from day one. And that's because they're struggling, can't say it enough, with the political directives from Washington, which seem to vary day to day, but by and large have been dedicated to the theme that the virus is not real and it's just a hoax to undermine Donald Trump. And that is why in Kenosha, when there's protesters and counter-protesters and counter-protesters, the only people wearing the masks are the Black Lives Matter supporters. MAGA hat doesn't wear masks. They don't believe it's real. They get into fist fights with people face to face, breathing in each other's faces, not a mask in sight. They come up to Jamal Green, put their hands on his shoulder, get right in his face, not a face mask. Jamal has his mask on. So it's this notion that somehow or other, the virus is a hoax and it doesn't affect us. And JB got caught up in that day. He listened to our show, and he heard your report about all the JB Pritzker sucks signs downstate. He thought he'd give him a break. JB, it doesn't work. They will never, ever go for you. They've been brainwashed. You might as well do the right thing and try to protect people in the state of Illinois and try to get them to wear a freaking mask when they go outside, or at least keep the mask. If you're going to have a fist fight, I think this should be 101. If you're going to have a fist fight, face to face, throwing punches, wear a mask.
Oh, yeah.
Is that asking for too much?
Because you're just thinking of safety. That's the first thing on your mind when you're ready to just throw a fist at someone's face. Well, I better be safe here.
Excuse me, let me put when there's a fight, a guy has glasses, take the glasses off. I don't want to fight a man with glasses. Come on, D, you know that. So now the protocol should be, before we have this fist fight, let's put our masks on. Okay, are they safely on? Your mask is not covering your nose. Okay, now we can go at it. Shh.
You're asking a lot. You're asking a lot.
I know, it's a lot for MAGA. Okay? Anyway, JB, I like your attempt, but come on. They're going to hate you no matter what you do. Go ahead, young man.
These stricter mitigations, as recommended by our doctors at IDPH, include the closure of all indoor bar service, that's indoor bar service, and indoor dining service. The closing of all outdoor bars and restaurants, gaming facilities, and casinos by 11 p.m., a pause on any party bus services, and a new limit on gatherings to the lesser of 25 individuals or 25% of overall room capacity. Let me be clear, these are not decisions that I make lightly, nor would I impose these restrictions if there wasn't evidence of increasing spread of the virus in these areas. I want our businesses to be open, and I want our hospitality scene to thrive. I want to get people back to work and finding new opportunities for themselves and their families. But the greatest hindrance to restoring our nation's economic vitality is the virus. Until we get it under control, either by people following the doctor-recommended mitigations or with an effective treatment or a vaccine, we are going to be fighting for our economic recovery with one hand tied behind our back. We must slow the rate of infection all across our state.
They were in our party bus plans, Ben.
I'm not quite sure why closing the casinos at 11 will have an impact if everybody's wearing a mask till midnight or whatever. But you know what, JB, again, I give you credit, but you're not dealing with people who are logical and rational. And I would say 40% of the state, or whatever vote Rauner got in the last election, that portion of the state is defiantly not going to wear a mask. So it's really difficult to be responsible. And he's absolutely correct. We can't get back to the society we once had until the pandemic has passed, until the virus threat is over. You could pretend it doesn't exist, like those motorcycle riders who drove out to South Dakota at the early part of the month D. And now the reports are coming in that many of them have the virus. You know, it just, you cannot defeat the virus if 40% of the country doesn't think it exists. So I give JB, this is why I've been giving her credit all along, D. Mayor Lori Lightfoot's got it easy. I walk through the north side of Chicago. Everybody's got a mask on. People sitting in Wells Park have masks on. You know, they take it very seriously. JB Pritzker's got to deal with the state. 40% at least can't stand him, don't like Democrats, loves MAGA, and thinks that the whole thing is a hoax. I don't know how you deal with that, D. And then you got the state of Missouri just across the river. You know, all the protocol in the world is not going to help your beloved Metro East, Dennis, if people in Missouri aren't wearing masks. So I feel for you, JB Pritzker. It's a tough job, man. Very tough job.
More details for bars and restaurant restrictions include all bar patrons should be seated at tables outside. No ordering, seating, or congregating. No congregating at the bar. Bar stools should be removed. Tables should be 6 feet apart. No standing or congregating indoors or outdoors while waiting for a table or exiting. No dancing. or what is this, Footloose? No dancing or standing indoors. Reservations required for each party. No seating of multiple parties at one table. And like he has to do damn near since the beginning of this pandemic, Governor Pritzker, again, addressed like Ben just did, all of those naysayers.
There are virus deniers whose arguments have swung wildly between this is a media hoax and it's just a problem for old people. Now their argument has changed. Their new argument is it's just new cases that are rising, not deaths, and the hospitals are fine, so we don't have to worry. Well, as the White House's own Dr. Birx said yesterday, Florida, Texas, Arizona, and other southern Sunbelt states thought that their increasing infection rates were unimportant. And then, in no time at all, their hospitals were overrun. When that happens, a lot more people die. I won't let that happen here. As Dr. Ezike and I have said throughout this COVID-19 pandemic, facts and science will continue to determine what efforts Illinois should make to protect our people. If the data shows that the virus is spreading at a high rate, we won't hesitate to take action to protect the people of Illinois. Your health and safety is my paramount consideration.
Yeah, good luck with all that, JB. I'm with you 100%, but good luck with that. MAGA man is just like, not gonna do it. Can't convince me. And let me just deal with this, D. The argument that only old people get it. I've heard that. I've heard that many times. So if I'm young, I don't have to worry about it, even though you could spread it to other people. But the thing that kills me is the selfishness. It's like, yeah, you're going to have to go to the hospital maybe. Then some doctor or nurse is going to have to deal with it. And they're going to have to close off more of the hospital to people who have other ailments that need to be addressed as you overwhelm hospitals. I guess that doesn't matter, huh? As long as you survive, it doesn't matter what inconvenience you've caused, how you've overtaxed our medical system. Just the selfishness in it all. Because it's all about re-electing Donald Trump. That's all it is. So I'm with you, JB. My heart goes out to you. You had your knees knocked a little bit, just a little bit, a couple weeks ago. We were trying to give old Metro East a break because you heard Dennis talk about all those Pritzker sucks signs. JB, those signs are going to be there no matter what you do. I don't believe there's anything you could do. Anybody who puts a Pritzker sucks sign up in their lawn, there's nothing you could do. They're just going to be against you no matter what.
Well, now I have a feeling that some those who disagree with JB have now put up 2 Pritzker suck signs in their yard. Whoa.
I'll show you.
Number 2, right there. All right, so there it was, a quick summary of JB Pritzker's Wednesday COVID-19 update. Come on, pick it up, Metro East.
Jamal Green, by the way, is sending me texts. He wants his invite.
Okay, I'm sending it right now.
He goes, where are you? Where are you? He says. All right, I'm going to text him back. Go ahead, D.
I sent it, so we'll wait for Jamal Green.
Oh, okay. I'm going to send it to him right now. Go. Just sent.
Oh, this is fun, huh?
Yeah. Wow. Let's do some real live radio thing. I'm going to call Jamal Green.
No, don't do that. I sent him the email. While we wait for Jamal Green, remember, you can find us on social media at Benny J Show, BENNY, the letter J Show, on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram. You can send us an email, bennyjshow@gmail.com. Send us a message. Let us know what's on your mind. And you can leave us a voicemail. That's right. We have a phone number, 708-658-4788. That number again, 708-658-4788. Leave us a voicemail. We'd love to hear from you. And, hey, if your voicemail isn't insane or crazy, we'll more than likely play it on the program. Also, we had a great interview with Eddie Armstrong that's available for download at both Chicago Sun-Times and Chicago Reader websites and wherever else you download your favorite podcasts. Make sure you go check that out, along with so many Benny J bonus interviews at both Chicago Sun-Times and Chicago Reader websites and wherever else you download your favorite podcasts. All right, we are waiting for Jamal Green. I sent him the Google Meet invite, And Ben, anything you'd like to say here? What are you going to talk about with Jamal Green? Obviously, everything that's going on with Kenosha. Anything else?
Well, I'm definitely gonna catch him up, get caught up with what Jamal's been doing since he ran for mayor. But yes, on my mind is talking about Kenosha, and here is Jamal Green without his face mask. Jamal, welcome to the Ben Joravsky Show.
Thanks so much for having me, Ben.
All right, now I'm looking. You can't see me because my ancient computer doesn't have a camera. I can see you, but I'm holding up the photograph of you with this woman. She's got her hand on your shoulder. She's right in your face. You're wearing a mask, doing the right thing. She has no mask. She's got the American flag. I guess she thinks that's going to protect her from the virus. And it's not only on the front page of the Chicago Tribune, but then I got my New York Times, and it's almost the identical picture on the front page of the New York Times. So when the show's over, I'm going to mail you both so you can keep them for your archives.
Yes.
All right, Jamal. First, why don't you just take a moment to tell folks who you are and why you decided to go to Wisconsin. Go ahead.
Well, I've been an organizer for many years, and I want to also put on a record that I'm the only organizer to shut down the Trump rally in America. As if many people know, we prevented Trump from being able to come and spread his divisiveness here in Chicago many years ago. And so yesterday was nothing different. Kenosha, there has been rising tensions, of course, after the Jacob Blake situation, where he was shot in the back 7 times. And what folks are doing, is making sure that our voices are heard when it comes to the change that we want to see in the system and the reimagining policing in America. And Trump coming to Kenosha to spread more divisiveness, even going as far to defend Kyle Rittenhouse, who crossed state lines at 17 years old with a AR-15 and shot 3 people, killing 2. This isn't the type of rhetoric that we should be supporting, especially the type of rhetoric that a president should be saying. And at the end of the day, yesterday was a moment where we went to support the Jacob Blake family, which we did right after we stopped by the place where Trump was, and there were a lot of supporters out there voicing what I feel is a lot of hate-filled rhetoric, and asking for 4 more years of divisiveness from Trump. So yesterday was just another day of dealing with people who don't understand their white privilege.
All right, let's talk about that. Let's break it down.
We can
set up the situation where the woman is in your face with no mask. Talk about how that happened and then what unfolded. Go ahead.
Well, if you know, our president already thinks COVID-19 is a hoax, and he's somebody who, we never really see with a mask on. And so his supporters follow suit. Yesterday at the gathering, most of the Trump supporters did not have masks on. When I got there, they were chanting 4 more years, and me and a few other folks were chanting, well, Black Lives Matter. And she approached us to have a conversation, getting, of course, very close, if people saw the front pages today, and touching me and basically speaking without a mask. As you can see, I had my mask on and I never took it off because I just saw how, folks really didn't take it seriously at that gathering. So we talked about white privilege. She doesn't think there is white privilege. She thinks that for some reason that no matter what color you are, that if you comply, that you're automatically going to live, which is just an asinine statement, knowing that we have many cases of Black men who've been shot by police who complied. Look at Philando Castile. They told him, get your license out. He tried to get his license and he was killed. There are many situations where Black men have complied. And so she wanted to talk about how if she didn't comply, they would probably shoot me too. And just showing us that she does not understand that she has white privilege and that Black people in America are far. I mean, when you look at the statistics, and she said that white people get shot by police more than Black people. So obviously, she needs a little history lesson. But I gave a little bit to her, and hopefully, she'll start to do a little bit more research on the things that she said. So she didn't understand her privilege, and she was out there supporting the president. And we were voicing our concerns as well.
When she put her hand on your shoulder, which I may be calling too much attention to it, but Jamal, I've been like, I take the pandemic very seriously. My children who are roughly your age urge me. They don't want me to go anywhere. I'm doing my show from my attic, overlooking the alley at a porta potty. I mean, I take it very seriously. I go out at night when there's no one around. Whenever I see anybody, I will put my mask on. I mean, I take it very seriously because, duh. You know what I mean?
I mean, a lot of Trump supporters don't, and it's because they're looking who they're being led by. Trump tried to call it a hoax in the beginning. Trump moved slower to start to take control of the virus, which caused now, we're going to probably be breaking 200,000 people that have died from this virus in a few more months. And so, we got to look at who they're being led by. And they're being led by somebody who told them to drink bleach, inject Lysol. So, I'm not surprised. And they really, really look at him as he's some type of non-human, like he's a higher being than us. And unfortunately, that's why they mimic his actions and his words. And I think that's very dangerous, looking at the numbers, knowing that COVID is real. But as you can see, I kept my mask on. I tried to keep my 6 feet, but I was trying to be nice when she was violating my space.
Oh, she completely violated your space.
Completely,
now, let's talk about the white privilege argument.
Yeah.
How effective, in your humble opinion, do you think the white privilege argument could be made to someone who absolutely, and I'm looking at this lady, she's definitely older than you, okay? So she's had more years of life than you have.
Right.
She has lived through, I'm going to tell you what she's lived through. She's lived through the assassination of Martin Luther King, the shooting of Medgar Evers, the March on Washington, Brown. Well, she probably was born after Brown versus Topeka.
Board of Education.
Board of Education.
Yeah.
But she's lived through the murder of Fred Hampton. She has lived through the FBI.
Yeah.
Following, trying to destroy the Black Panthers. She's lived through all the history that I've lived through. She's about my age. She has come to the conclusion, having lived through all that history, Jim Crow, segregated swimming pools, can't go into a restaurant, Jackie Robinson is taunted.
Yes.
She has lived through all that, Jamal Green, and come to the conclusion that there is no such thing as white privilege. I do not know.
Well,
a young man like you can convince someone who's lived through all that.
Like that.
Go ahead, help me out here.
Well, Ben, I think you put it in the best words, and I think that when I do another interview, I'm gonna have to take those words. I mean, that's the absolute truth. With all the things that she has lived through, watching the mistreatment of Black people in America, to be this age and still today say that she basically have no white privilege and that Black people just need to comply and they will live, it's just insane. Maybe you can't convince these people. These people are definitely, their mindsets are definitely, I guess they have such a narrow view of how they think and how they see things. And so the only thing that I'm there to do is to try to open up their minds and get them to stop seeing so narrowly. It may reach one person. And I think if we reach one, and I think I've talked to a couple, I had a Trump supporter yesterday who acknowledged that he needs to be re-educated on the history of America. And that to me showed me that I've done my work for the day. He acknowledged, he said, I would sign up for a class to be re-educated on the real history of America. Because I started telling him about the history of America. and how it isn't, the real history isn't even being taught, especially in our schools. And we need to sue McGraw-Hill, and which is probably the reason why some of you think that way. And he said, you know what, you're correct. I would love to be retaught the history of America and hopefully change my point of view. And so some people you can reach, maybe not everybody. Of course, not everybody. Obviously, her, you know, something is keeping her to or making her feel this way as she continues to live her life.
All right, now that gentleman that he said he's willing to take a new look at American history, which I appreciate. Yeah. Thank you for leading him to that moment of enlightenment. Was that gentleman wearing a mask?
He was not wearing a mask. He was not wearing a mask. I put up the video of him yesterday, I believe. He wasn't wearing a mask either. Most of them were not wearing masks. They really think that this is COVID-19. It's just
that's so deep. So that sort of sums it all up. They won't wear a mask because they don't believe that this thing that has killed 200,000 or so people is unreal. So how are you going to get them to focus on the assassination of Martin Luther King? You know what I'm saying? It's like that is totally a challenge. All right, Jamal. So let's put it in political terms.
Yes.
You ran for mayor.
I did.
Back in 2000, kind of lost track of time, 19. So you do believe in a political system. You do believe that change has to come through politics, or it's one venue. And so right now we're in a struggle. And unfortunately, the way our electoral college system is set up, you know this as well as all of our listeners, Wisconsin is paramount.
It is.
And you have people like this lady with the American flag without a mask, putting her hand on her shoulder, on your shoulder, right in your freaking face, telling you that there is no difference in the way police treat white and black people, in defiance of all evidence.
Yeah.
Are you confident that Joe Biden can win a majority of voters, or at least a plurality of voters in the state of Wisconsin, so that he could capture those electoral college votes in the face of such willful ignorance?
Well, if you look at Kenosha last election, Trump, I believe, won Kenosha. And, you know, do I have confidence that Joe Biden will be able to win this election at all? I don't. Unfortunately, you know, there's not enough excitement, I think, at this moment, and they have to start getting bold on policy in these next 9 weeks if they want to see people really care about this election. If you look at the polling at the time that Hillary Clinton was running, and you mirror it with the polling at this time now that Joe Biden is running, Hillary Clinton was doing better in polls than Joe Biden was, and Hillary Clinton still lost. And so I am not confident that Joe Biden has this in a bag. I think that there is definitely some time and some work and some organizing that campaign must do, because Trump is still in this. We can't count him out. We counted him out last time, and Hillary Clinton stopped campaigning. We cannot count him out, and we must organize. I'm not a fan of either, but I understand the stakes of this election. And at the end of the day, if Joe Biden don't start saying some powerful policy stances, whether it is better Medicare, Medicare for all, Green New Deal, college for all, you know, if he don't start getting bold with some of the policies, you know, universal child care, and make people really believe in him over these next, I say, 4 or 5 weeks, then you're going to see voters stay home. Trump is already trying to steal this election by fighting the post office. So who knows what can happen in 9 weeks. But what we cannot do is we cannot think we have this in a bag. We did that one time. We saw how that happened and what happened.
Your old friend, Mayor Rahm Emanuel.
Rahm wasn't my friend.
I know. I said that with air quotes. You couldn't see it.
I know.
We'll get into that, by the way. We'll swing things before you head out the door to local politics, get your thoughts on some local political stuff. But your old friend, in air quotes, very ironic and facetious, Rahm Emanuel has advised the opposite of everything you said. He said, don't come out strong, Joe Biden, for Medicare for all. Don't come out for a Green New Deal. You should be running as basically a Republican, looking for Republicans for Biden. That was his advice, Rahm's advice. J. Ma, I could go on and on with my opinion about that, but I'd love to hear your opinions if Biden follows Rahm's advice. Go ahead.
Rahm Emanuel, if anybody takes advice from Rahm Emanuel, I think they're destined to lose. I think Rahm Emanuel is one of the worst Democratic advisors in history. And we probably saw that when he got a chance to lead the city, and he did a terrible job for 8 years. So at the end of the day, I think Rahm Emanuel doesn't understand that. Look at the polling of some of these things like Medicare for all. 70% of Americans, both sides, all right, Republican and Democrats, believe in Medicare for all. Look at the excitement that it brings a candidate. When you look at Bernie Sanders, I think Rahm Emanuel is really just out of touch, and he's trying to find a way to get into this administration. And, I'm glad Joe Biden hasn't said anything about Rahm Emanuel, because that'll probably make him lose my vote. But I think at the end of the day, Joe Biden needs to get bold. He needs to look at the polling. He needs to be serious about this and really get some excitement. Nobody's excited for Joe Biden. If you ask somebody, why are you voting for Joe Biden? They're going to say, well, it's because of Trump. The polls showed 56% of people that are voting for Joe Biden are only voting because of Trump. That's not okay. It needs to be some excitement around policy, and people should want to feel like they're going to get something at the end. Look at Trump polling numbers as far as black people. His polling went up almost 6% now. 24% of black people are saying that they're voting for Trump. Biden is on track to have us another Hillary Clinton situation. And if he doesn't get it together and wake up, I'm not using the Sleepy Joe thing with him, but if he doesn't wake up and get serious and get bold about these policies, he's going to lose this election. And the Democrats and the DNC just don't understand how to move. And look at what happened yesterday. Ed Markey, you know what I'm saying? Ed Markey beat Pelosi's candidate, and Joe Kennedy. He beat a Kennedy for the first time ever, because people want bold politicians and don't want the status quo. No more status quo.
Ed Markey, of course, being the incumbent senator in Massachusetts, defeated Congressman Joe Kennedy. Joe Kennedy III, I want to say, in the Democratic primary. You're absolutely correct. Ed Markey was supported by Chuck Schumer, and Joe Kennedy was supported by Nancy Pelosi. Nancy, what are you doing getting involved in a primary, for goodness sake?
I'm going to say supporting Markey.
I'm going to say this right now, J. Maul. I'm going to make this declaration to you right now. I do not know what poll you saw that said 24% of black people are voting for Donald Trump. I am telling you right now, you name the restaurant. If Donald Trump gets more than 2% of the black vote in the city of Chicago, you pick the restaurant. I will buy you. There is no way Donald John Trump is going to get more than 2% of the black vote. No way. I don't care what that poll shows.
Let me tell you this.
Go ahead.
Let me tell you this. I saw the article. I saw the poll. I was just as shocked. But what I will tell you is that black people are not sold on Biden. And what's happening is they know Biden's past with the crime bill and Biden's racist legislative policies supporting segregationists, et cetera. We can go down the line. They also know the past of Kamala Harris and how destructive she was as Attorney General and a prosecutor in California. Black people are not sold on that ticket, and it's really going to be the black men who decide not to vote Democrat and say, I'm going to flip and go Republican this time because the Democrats don't get it together. And so I think you won't see a high amount of black people in America voting for Trump, but you will see a small percentage.
No,
it might be a little bit higher than last time.
All right, let me put it to you this way. You may not see a high percentage. You got it flipped. The only ones who vote for Trump will be high, because that's the only reason anybody. I am telling you right now, this to me, I understand exactly what you're saying, Jamal. I understand exactly what you're saying. Joe Biden his past, his record, his indecisiveness, his alliance and allegiances with many of the racist senators from the South is very troubling indeed. But I will point this out. And you watched the same primaries that I watched. It was by and large black voters that selected Joe Biden.
Right.
Joe Biden was effectively the choice.
I'm not disagree with that. But it was in one state. South Carolina decided Joe Biden's nomination. All right, and it was Jim Clyburn and down south. And Southern voters think a little bit different than Northern voters up here. But it was the South that decided his fate. Definitely.
All right. Well, be that as it may, the primaries after South Carolina were resounding victory for Joe Biden in black precincts over Bernie Sanders, who I supported, and I believe you supported as well. Two Bernie guys right here. So I'm just telling you right now that by and large, the plurality or majority of black voters in the Democratic Party selected Joe Biden.
I think they're now disappointed. They knew Bernie Sanders was the best candidate to win this race.
Well, you should have listened to J. Maul Green. All right,
J. Maul Green.
But that bet holds. I do not believe that 24%. I hadn't seen that article. I'm gonna go check it out. We'll see.
I'll send it to you. We'll see. I just saw it, I think yesterday.
And anyway, it'll be fun to go have lunch with you, no matter who has to pay for it. All right. Before I let you go out the door, I know you have other things you have to do, really pressing for your time. I want to get your thoughts. I saw you quoted in the paper. I'd love to hear you on this subject. Lori Lightfoot says she doesn't want police. She doesn't want protesters coming on her block to protest. And I know that you were out at Rahm's house every day for
on his doorstep.
Ding dong. Hey, Rahm. For about a month, I want to say, maybe a little. I don't know. I've lost track of time, J-Mo.
Go ahead. Well, what I'll say to that is, and I guess I can close with this is, I don't think Lori is really handling protests well. She doesn't do well in this. Even during a campaign, she didn't do well with people that are voicing their concerns and hitting the streets. And she's kind of showing her pro-police. It's unfortunate, but she's showing how pro-police and she is, and the things that they said about her during the campaign are now coming true. As you know, I endorsed Lori Lightfoot, and I consulted her through her first year. But at this moment, she's not handling things well. We are at odds at this moment, and I think the whole block protest thing, I think is utterly ridiculous. She has security that's going to be outside. She has security in her home, and I don't think it makes sense. I've literally went over there where there were hundreds of police officers blocking off her block when we can't get that same treatment on the South Side. We can't get that treatment in Austin to have 150 officers. How the hell have one officer walk down the street and have a presence? They're all in their patrol cars waiting for somebody to call 911. And so to have hundreds of police that are standing on Lori's block whenever people are protesting, and to block protesters from protesting, I don't agree with it. I was, as you know, the first person to go to organize protests at Rahm's house. I was on his doorstep. Unfortunately, I don't even want to speak on this because it makes it seem like Rahm handled it better at the time. I can't give Rahm any credit. But we had no more than 5 officers out there in a line while we were there, just to make sure we didn't go on his porch. But not at the situation where he blocked off the whole street and had hundreds of officers there. Sometimes it just never happened. So,
Jim, I don't think I've ever asked you this question. I'm just curious. How do people, like I said, you were leading protesters, or you were one of the protesters outside of Rahm's house after the Quan McDonald video was finally released back in 2015 or 2014. How did neighbors treat you?
Neighbors loved it. Neighbors loved it. Neighbors loved the protests. They came out to support. They sent us pizza. They let their dogs like urinate on his lawn. I mean, I think his his neighbors were very supportive of us protesting at his house. So
I've never asked you that question. I've always wondered, because one of the
Very
things that Mayor Lori Lightfoot said when she was explaining why she had come up with this
was about her
policy.
neighbors, and that just wasn't true, because her neighbors also have signs out in front of their gates saying that they don't support Lori. So, hey.
All right, listen, J-Ma, I know you have a lot to do. I'm going to send you these pictures. J-Ma Green
Thank you so
on the
much.
front page of the Chicago Tribune and the New York Times. You take care, J-Ma. Stay safe and sound, all right?
You too. Thanks so much for having me on. Talk soon.
All right. That's J-Ma Green wearing his mask, D. Wearing his mask. And appreciate him coming on the show. We got Monroe Anderson coming up. Dennis, you want to take a break and go to Monroe, or do you want to plow through it? What's your thoughts?
Let's take a break. We'll talk to Monroe. Let's hear the latest from Michael Girardi. This song is called The Losers Bracket. After this song, we'll be back.
Come on, man, you know which side you're on. Don't you worry how the campaign's getting its funds. Backs are broken from towing the party line. We haven't thought of you since 1979. Oh no, here we go again. Doing the other side's work for them. Look out! Sorry about what happened in 2016. The losers bracket is where we really compete. Can't be sure if this one's even happening. Vote for me and then don't ask for anything. You can't go winning when you're as good at losing as we are. Just in case you haven't lost all hope, another Catholic's gonna lose the Catholic vote just once. You can't go winning when you're as good at losing as we are. You can't go winning when you're as good at losing as we are. You can't go winning when you're as good at losing as we are. You can't go winning when you're as good at losing as we are. You can't go winning when you're as good at losing as we are.
Read the Chicago Reader to get up to speed on what's what in Chicago. Culture, food,
arts and entertainment, weekly concert listings, weekly event listings, the environment, travel. I can continue, but you get the point. And for all of you Chicago political junkies, raw weekly columns on real city politics from Maya Dukmasova and our very own Ben Joravsky. The Chicago Reader, free to the public in newsstands throughout the city and online at chicagoreader.com. Read it now and be a more informed Chicagoan.
Rediscover our fascinating city this summer on a walking tour from the Chicago Architecture Center, now open and adhering to public health safety standards. Our entertaining and expertly trained docents will guide you through the Chicago you've been longing to explore, from magnificent downtown architecture to awe-inspiring neighborhood gems. If it's worth seeing, we'll take you there. Get tickets at architecture.org/tours. The stories of the city begin at the CAC. Number 2 of your Ben Joravsky Show for Wednesday, September 2nd is brought to you in part by the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 9, the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 150, and the Chicago Federation of Labor. Benny J, take it away.
Just got finished talking to Jamal Green. He got me thinking about something, D, before we bring on Monroe Anderson. His debate with a Trump supporter in Wisconsin over the concept of white privilege. And I mean, that is a very challenging concept to get any white person to sign on to, because I think that so many people, they just want to believe that everything they got in life, whatever success they had, whatever money they've made, whatever property they own, whatever status they've achieved, is well earned, it's deserved, it's based on their capabilities and their personal triumphs, and that they didn't get a break and they didn't get a handout. And I've always struggled with this because I know that none of us got to where we are on our own, that everybody got some break along the way, one way or the other. I wouldn't even be in radio or podcasting if I just a fortuitous meeting with Dennis. I owe this to Dennis. I got everything I have, whatever little it is, in this attic overlooking that porta potty is based on Dennis saying, I think this guy would be good on the radio. And I found out that I liked it, and I'm doing it, and I enjoy myself. We have an audience. But it's just like, I owe it to this guy. So for me to go, okay, well, I'm just a natural, talented guy with brilliance that's just never been achieved in the history of radio is ridiculous. That's just one little example. And if you accumulate it your whole life, you could go back and I could look at all, like this guy who took care of me here or helped me out there or overlooked my my stumbles there, here. Every one of us owes it to something. So this notion that we have achieved whatever we achieved just based on our innate ability is just like this myth. And you take that beyond just the individual like myself and just talk about the obvious advantages in this country that white people have. It's just the obvious advantages that you could see all the time, and we all know them, and you deny them, then there's this willful ignorance. And I'm listening to Jamal talk about how he's trying to convince this random Trump supporter in Wisconsin that she's the beneficiary of white privilege. I'm like, I don't even know if you should try to make that argument. I don't know what good that argument is going to do. I'm really struggling with this. He did say, Jamal did, that he got one Trump supporter to say that he's recently going to reconsider, going to go back and read history. But I just feel it's just like an open defiance against the notion that there is such a thing as white privilege, even though it's a perfect metaphor, I think, in many ways for people who go around without a masks in large public gatherings. It's just an open defiance of what we know is real. And so this pandemic is very real, and people are dying of it. And if you allow yourself to go around openly, exposed without a mask, you probably are increasing the likelihood that you're going to get it. And no matter how much you don't like the pandemic, or you don't like people who criticize Trump for his handling of the pandemic's very real. So it's similar, no matter how much you really don't like the notion. And I realize that a lot of people cannot stand just the even concept that white people have an advantage over black people. They don't want to believe it. It's a reality. It's a reality every bit as much true, I think, as that if you don't put on your mask, there's a greater chance you're going to get the virus. Monroe Anderson, I believe, has joined us. Good job, Dr. D. Monroe, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
You sound loud and clear. And one more time, I want to tell everybody that Monroe has taken ages off his life because every day he's doing Tai Chi. He did it again today. And now he and his wife, Joyce, are trying to convince me to join him doing the Tai Chi. Could you see me doing Tai Chi, Monroe?
I think it'd be good for you because although I haven't seen you in a while, you're beginning to have that old man's movement. The Tai Chi will loosen you up.
The old man's movement. Yes, I'm moving like Red Fox. More and more as the days go on. Red Fox in Sanford and Son.
Those are from those body blows you took as a b-baller.
Yes, I played a lot of basketball well into my 50s. And then I finally retired. We had, before you came on, Jamal Green, Chicago activist, Monroe. We're talking to him before we get into everything you want to talk about. I just got to get your thoughts on this. And I got a lot of respect for Jamal Green. He went up to Kenosha to be a protester against Donald Trump, and he got into some debate discussions with Trump supporters, and photographs of Jamal Green confronting, or one woman is confronting him, I should say, are on the front page of the Chicago Tribune and the New York Times.
With his name on it, or just a photograph?
In the Tribune, very good question. In the Tribune, the subhead reads, "A Trump supporter and Chicago activist, Jamal Green, faces off Tuesday as they wait for the president's motorcade at Kenosha." And the New York Times simply says, protesters at a high school above, so they don't even refer to him. So he was mentioned in the Tribune, but not the New York Times. So anyway, I was asking Jamal, he was very gracious to come on the show on short notice. I was asking him what he and the Trump supporter were talking about. And let me point out, Monroe, in the photograph, the Trump supporter has no mask. Jamal is wearing a mask, and she's right in his face. Right. She's literally right in his face, and she's got his hand on his shoulder. So completely violating his space, violating all the protocols of safety that we're supposed to be following to protect ourselves.
I think I'd punch somebody if they got that close to me.
Well, Jamal's a man of peace, and he didn't do any punching, and I give him a lot of credit. But he said he was engaging the woman on a discussion of white privilege, and this is what I was talking about before you came on. I find, get your thoughts on this, Monroe. I'm not certain that anyone can convince a segment of white people in America that they are the beneficiaries of white privilege, because the very concept of white privilege really irritates the hell out of a lot of white people, because it implies that they have an advantage, and they don't want to believe that. They actually want to think it's like black people who have an advantage.
Oh, I know.
And so
that's the white grievance crowd.
Yeah. So what's your thoughts about trying to convince white people to that white privilege is a serious issue in this country?
Oh, I've been fighting with them since 2009 on Facebook about white privilege.
And
Response is, well, I, I don't, I'm not rich or I'm this, not this or something. I don't have any privilege. That's what they do. I give them Tim Wise. Do you know who Tim Wise is?
no.
Tim Wise is this white man who has a whole white privilege movement going on.
Mm-hmm.
And he lectures on it. He has TED Talks, etc. on it. And one of the ones that I would use in the past, I've used in the past, is why a poor broke white man should know that he has white privilege. And I mean, and it's really basic stuff like, well, I told you about the time I got a traffic ticket in New Hampshire, and the cop threatened to make me sit on the curb in too above weather while he processed it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also, you don't get tailed in a grocery store or a department store because you're white. Black people do. I mean, there's that famous episode where Oprah was on Oak Street and buzzed to get in, and they wouldn't let her in because all they saw was her black skin. They didn't see the fact that this is Oprah who had enough money to buy the clerk in the store too. And there's a list. Wise just does a list of white privilege things that white people don't take for granted, but have this advantage. And it doesn't matter what your station in life is. It's just because of your whiteness.
But if you're trying to win over,
you can't win them over. No,
okay, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
like those people who are really racist, then you can't win them over. Because that's the only thing they have is their whiteness. Otherwise, they just be losers. But because they're not black, then they think of themselves as superior.
Well, I do know that emphasis on white privilege.
Yeah.
At a time when the media has images of unrest and looting,
right,
is the ingredients in a broth that produces a white backlash. And you know that as well as I do, Monroe, because you and I have lived through the same historical realities.
Right. And what's really interesting is until the 1960s, riots were always white people attacking black people. I mean, just throughout American history, that's what it was. It was the 1919, the Red Summer of 1919. Across America, white people were attacking black people, killing them, just burning their properties, etc. Because it was right after World War I. And black folks who weren't in the army had jobs that the white people wanted, white men wanted when they got back. And so they were attacking blacks for any reason. In Chicago, of course, it was a famous situation where they drowned a black kid in Lake Michigan. Because he was on a boat or a raft and drifted across an imaginary line where it was supposed to be whites only.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, there are many instances like that in the city of Chicago. You're absolutely correct. The riots that took place when black people were allowed to move into CHA housing in white areas. There's a whole history of that. You're absolutely correct. But that's a history lesson, Monroe, and
so it's that's just the situation.
All right, let's get to your post, your Facebook post that sort of serves as an outline to what we're going to talk about. I really enjoy it when you post these things up. Get your little sense of your devilish sense of humor on full display for Monroe Anderson. And here we go. Are Trump and his Republicans hankering to start a race war or just a second civil war? Will the Trump campaign's Law and Order, that's channeling the Richard Nixon and George Wallace transgressions of yore, result in 4 more hellish years for America? Please no, please no. How did it happen that both Mueller or the FBI failed to look into Trump's Russia's connections? And what about Brian Urlacher letting loose his inner redneck out? Yes. Ben Joravsky and I will be discussing these and other topics at 2:00. And then there's a picture of GOP Senator Ron Johnson touting citizen soldiers to overwhelm rioters. I have not read that story, Monroe. So why don't you be our correspondent and tell me what in the world? Senator, he's a U.S. Senator from the state of Wisconsin, okay? Right. Ron Johnson, all right? Touting citizen soldiers to overwhelm rioters. What exactly is that all about?
About the militia, the armed militia, and the vigilantes that are mainly almost 90% white supremacists who have taken up arms. If you think of the 17-year-old boy that crossed state lines to go over and kill a couple of people in Wisconsin, he is Exhibit A.
Kyle Rittenhouse.
Right. Yes. He's a poster child for that.
Now, Monroe, when you're dealing, and Monroe does hand-to-hand combat on Facebook, metaphorically speaking, with Trump lovers everywhere, he's not like Jamal Green. He's not really polite and listens. He engages them. Are they defending Kyle Rittenhouse?
Oh, yes.
And
yes.
What is the defense?
And the defense is that he was attacked. It was self-defense. That's their defense. Which, and I point out to them, well, first of all, he had no business over in another town or crossing state lines. And he was taunting them. Not only that, but Wisconsin state law says that you have to be 18 to have a gun. It's okay, you can have an AR-15, but you need to be 18 to have an AK-15.
Mm-hmm.
And so
he's underage.
So he's underage. And of course, the greatest thing in that situation, people, one's a third, the police have been notified. They're rushing to the scene. He's walking towards them with his hands up in the air, the gun hanging around him, trying to give himself up. Because it's a white boy with a gun, it never even occurred to them that might be the shooter. So they rush to the scene where the bodies are.
Mm-hmm. And so how do you respond to the Trumpsters in your debates when they assert that Rittenhouse was just defending himself?
I point out that he wasn't. He had no business there. I mean, he was there defending property that was not his, and so he had no business being there.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, they wrongly say, well, he was defending himself. He was knocked down. The reality was he had shot 3 people, killed 2, and was running away from the crowd. At which point, well, he shot somebody. I'm sorry, he didn't shoot. He hadn't shot all 3 at that time because he shot a couple after he was knocked down when they were chasing him, trying to take the gun away from him.
When you wrote, "Are Trump and Republicans hankering to start a race war or just a second civil war?" And will the Trump campaign of law and order result in 4 more hellish years for America? You've been consistently predicting that Trump will not win re-election. Today, when I was talking to you, it was the first time I sensed a little concern on your part.
Yeah, but this is the concern right now. Of course, circumstances could change in that Joe Biden could get COVID-19 and die, and it would upset the cart possibly. Or Trump could get COVID-19 and die, and we got President Pence there. I mean, it's all kinds of factors within these 60 days that we have, 60, 61, 62 days. However, I am not worried about Trump winning, but I am worried about it being close and his trying to steal it. And being a big mess that way. What we need, and this is what I still believe will happen, although my faith has been shaken a little bit, and that's that we will have such a landslide that it will destroy much of Trumpism, but not all of it. But this is what we need. We need such a victory, a huge victory. We need a blue tsunami, which will sweep Trump out of office. Hopefully, Mitch McConnell and Lindsey. You get rid of Lindsey, McConnell, and Johnson, for that matter. Ron Johnson. If he's up, I'm not sure he's up, actually. But anyway, where the Democrats have the House in big numbers, have the Senate in enough numbers where we won't need Vice President Harris's vote to break a tie.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one more thing.
Yeah.
And that we will be able to send Trump to prison. And it's going to take a big vote, but I like Nancy Pelosi, I want to see him in jail.
You've been on that one. You've been on riding that horse since 2017, no doubt about it.
He's a crook. He's a crook, and so he needs to go to jail. There's a book out right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Donald Trump versus the United States, or vice versa. Mm-hmm. It was written by Michael Schmidt. He's a Pulitzer Prize-winning New York Times reporter who's been covering Trump all this time. And one of the things that he reports in his book is that Mueller nor the FBI investigated Trump's Russia connections at all, not at all. So when the right wing talks about how he's been exonerated, he wasn't exonerated because he wasn't investigated.
Why was that? Why was he not investigated?
The story is that when McQuaid left the FBI, one step ahead of the posse. In fact, he was fired. He knew he was going to get fired. And so he set it up where he thought that Mueller could take it all over and pursue it, the Russian connection. Because there were all kinds of arrows and flashing lights that said, okay, this guy is an operative, basically. Rosenstein, when Rosenstein took over, he thought that Mueller, in wanting to pursue this, would have been going too far because there wasn't enough evidence to go after a president. And so he didn't push it. And Mueller thought that although he didn't do it, he thought the FBI would be doing it. So it's the right hand to know what the left hand was doing, and it was a job fraught with all sorts of dangers for people interested in keeping a career, and so they didn't do it.
They didn't do it, and this is go one step further. Back in 2016, when the evidence was mounting, Barack Obama, President of the United States, Democrat, could he easily have brought a lot of attention to this, but he held back.
Right.
He held back because he didn't he felt probably two reasons. One, he thought Hillary Clinton was going to win anyway.
Exactly.
And two, he didn't want to politicize things. Man, when are Democrats, I know you're going to disagree with me on this, but I'm going to say it. When are Democrats going to learn? There is no way in a similar situation Donald Trump would have sat it out and, well, I don't want to look like I'm politicizing things. Donald Trump makes stuff up. Right now he's got this cockamamie theory about like secret people in an airplane that are.
So you haven't heard the latest one.
Okay.
His latest is that Biden is taking some sort of drug that's making him seem smart.
Hey man, where can I get that drug?
Right.
I want that drug. I missed that one. Go ahead.
He's still Sleepy Joe, but because of this secret drug that he's taking, he's coming off as not as sleepy and not as stupid as Trump would have you think he is.
Trump should take that drug.
No, right. Right, exactly. Well, if there were such a drug, Trump would be taking it.
But my point is that one of the reasons that Trump got as far as he did,
Yeah.
even with all the evidence that either he or his aides were agents of the Russians, is because the Democrats, until it was too late, did not press the issue and advance the issue.
Right.
And that hesitancy to fight hard, that pulling of the punch, which is so characteristic of Barack Obama Democrats, Joe Biden Democrats.
If you maybe you recall this, but back 3 years or more ago, when we first started talking about this stuff, I said that Republicans were back shooters and Democrats wanted to have a duel at high noon.
Yeah.
When you counted to 10 and you were facing each other and whoever was the best shot won. In the meantime, Republicans are waiting for you in the middle of the night in the darkest alley they can find and they shoot you in the back.
Yes, you did say that. And yes, you were right when you said that. And yes, it's so painfully obvious even now. Joe Biden is sort of like following Donald Trump around the country, trying to figure out how to deal with the law and order, taking the initiative on anything. Monroe, do you follow what I'm saying? This is my frustration. You know, I've been saying this for a long time about Joe Biden. It seems like he's just the strategy of sitting back.
No, he came out. Did you hear his speech yesterday, day before?
Yes.
No, he's coming out now. Partially because his lead is shrinking. I mean, it's still more than Hillary's was, and there's no reason for alarm yet. He has a 7.5 point lead nationally. He has leads in a lot of the battleground states. In most of them, he has leads. So there's no reason to panic, but the lead is tightening because Trump and the Republicans are doing this whole law and order thing. Mm-hmm. And it appeals to a whole bunch of white folks.
All right. I alluded to the fact that Jamal Green activist was on right before you. He said something that I almost fell out of my chair. I didn't see this. Maybe you saw this. He cited a poll that showed 24% of black people supported Donald Trump. I said, Jamal, I don't know what poll you saw, but it doesn't, that contradicts just every instinct I have on this situation. What's your reaction to this, Monroe?
That was probably the poll they took in Alabama when everybody was on the beach. They had those huge crowds on the beach, and a bunch of people had gotten sunburned. So they thought they were black. No, the Trump is going to get 2 or 3% of the black female vote. Last time he got 14% of the black male vote, and he may or may not get that this time. We'll see.
He didn't get it last time, but I'm not going to go down that road again. I'm so sick of having that argument with people about the lying that goes on to pollsters.
No, this was, yeah, no, I think these were actual pollings, not.
No, these are exit polls. All these projections about who got what after an election are based on exit polls because there's no statistical way to take a look at actual results and determine which vote is a woman, which vote is a man, which vote is a black person, which vote is a white person, unless in the latter category you have utter segregation. If you have utter segregation, then you can take a look at precincts that are all black, and then you can make a determination, like I do all the time in Chicago. But if you just do it on an exit poll, your result is based on the honesty of the person being interviewed. And as I've said on the show many times, I do not believe the veracity of voters when dealing with exit pollsters. I just don't believe it. I believe that there are white people that lie to the pollsters and won't admit they voted for Donald Trump because they realize he's a freaking idiot and they look stupid and racist for voting for him. And I believe there are black people who lie to the pollsters for a whole assortment of reasons, Monroe, which just leave me every bit as much baffled as the white person. And so I think that results in an inflated vote for Donald Trump among black people when they come up with the results, and a deflated vote. So in other words, I believe the actual turnout for Donald Trump among white women was higher than the 53% that he is supposedly got. What's your reaction to all that?
That's a possibility. It's a possibility. But the important thing this time is that as many black voters as possible vote early. I would say often, but that sounds too Chicagoese.
Yeah.
I leave that part out. And plus, that's just what Trump needs as an excuse to not leave office, is that people vote early and often.
Here's the latest paranoia from the Democrats about Donald Trump, that he will claim victory before the mail-in votes are counted. And then that'll cause a problem, which he'll probably do it if he's losing.
Right, exactly. No, he's already told us that if he loses, it was because it was rigged. Not a vote has been cast yet, and he's already telling us that if he loses, it was rigged. If he wins, he won it fair and square.
Yeah.
Unless, he was upset last time in 2016 because he didn't win the popular vote. Hillary beat him by 2.7 million. And so he put together that commission, remember?
Oh, yeah.
Discover how they cheated him out of that. And it didn't last very long. They had to shut it down because it was crazy.
All right, let's shift gears, close down with a discussion of sports. Monroe Anderson is a football fan. He's from Gary, Indiana, but he's always rooted for the Bears, I believe.
Wait. Gary, Indiana. Gary is a suburb of Chicago. Why would I not?
That is true. See, I don't know. It's whenever I interview someone from Indiana, it's just the people that I interview, they want to disassociate themselves with the rest of the state. I don't blame you. I'm just saying that's a fact.
Right. No, I'm not dealing with the fact that the city limits to Gary and the city limits to Chicago are about 7 miles apart.
All right, fair enough. So you're going to be a White Sox fan and a Bears fan. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
And because they had a black player long before the Cubs did.
Yes. Larry Doby. All right. So he was their first black manager. All right. So Brian Urlacher, in my humble opinion, made an ass of himself last week. And I wrote a story about the column for this for the Reader, where he came out and said essentially that Kyle Rittenhouse should be free, He liked somebody's tweet on that matter, and then he really irritated the hell out of a lot of people with an Instagram post that favorably compared Brett Favre, the Green Bay Packer quarterback who played in the aftermath of his father's death, to NBA players who boycotted games to protest police violence against black people. It was the most cockamamie, convoluted comparison analogy I've seen in a long time. But essentially, he was showing his true colors, and
Right.
that color would be white.
Right, exactly.
And
Although you could speculate
Mhm.
that the hair transplant he got did damage to his brain before that it was working better. But that would be Trump-like for me to come up with that, so I'll leave it alone.
So what's going on here? Brian Urlacher finally speaking his mind.
Yeah.
Did he always have these beliefs? What's your thoughts?
I think so. And it amazes me, you know, with Vicker, who was coaching all these black men, or Urlacher, who is playing with all these black men, that they don't have a greater understanding and fellowship with these guys. But I guess racism is a stronger element, influence, than human bonding.
Yeah. That's a good point. Vincent Norman, who comes to my show all the time, articulated that his theory is the further away people get from black people in their day-to-day life, the more exposed they are to these viruses, if you will, if you follow me on this one.
Right.
So like Urlacher, when he was in that locker room with like, I don't know, Lance Briggs is there, and Peter Tillman is there, and Mike Brown is there, and Lovie Smith is the coach. You get what I'm saying? It shapes his worldview. Maybe he has these inclinations, but he's going to keep them to himself. Maybe he doesn't even have them that strongly. What do you think?
I think that he had those thoughts and feelings then, but he kept them to himself. You know, I spent a number of years, a couple of decades, in white corporate America, and I did not fully express my points of view because it would have had an ill effect on my career, shall we say. And so I kept a lot of things. I was a department head at WBBM-TV, and I sat in board meetings, department head meetings, every week. And some of the racist or right-wing stuff, they would say I did not speak out about because I wanted to keep my job. I had one of the general managers I had was from Mississippi. And one day I'm talking to him, and he talked about how, I think it's Atlanta is where the president was buried. And he was talking about the president of the Confederacy.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I mean, and what was I going to say? I mean, and he knew exactly what he was doing. He was messing with me. So later, I did. This is how I would strike back. Later, he was bragging about his sons. One was in the Army. The other was a Minnesota state policeman. And so I said to him, what did you do to your sons when you were raising them to make them take such dangerous jobs? Of course, he was very proud of it, the fact that they were soldiers and cops and stuff.
And his response?
He gave me a nasty look. He didn't respond.
Did you ever have a moment in those dealings in the corporate boardroom where somebody looked at you and said, Monroe, you may not agree with me, and then issued it. You get what I'm saying? Then they stated what they said. Did anybody like officially acknowledge your presence as the black man in the room is what I'm asking before they unleashed whatever was on their mind, or did they just unleash it as though you weren't there?
They just unleashed it, or they spoke in code, or sometimes at WBBM, because this is the only boardroom I was in. At the Tribune, I was just a reporter, but in Newsweek, I was just a reporter. But in the boardroom at WBBM TV, sometimes I was the only black, but sometimes I wasn't. There were, because I went through, I think it was 7 general managers, and each one would have 6 or 7, and each one would have a different group of department heads as they came in. And so sometimes I'd be the only one, sometimes there'd be 2 or 3. So, so I can't apply one law, but I do things in the meetings, like I would point out to them that when we were covering, when we were doing beach shots, just for an example, they always went to Oak Street Beach or Fullerton Beach. I said, there are other beaches. Some of them would have black people. Go to beaches, hang out just like white people do. So we could do that every now and then.
And then, thanks for your advice, Monroe Anderson.
And sometimes they follow up on it, because I was the director of community affairs.
I see.
So my job was to direct them towards the community, shall we say.
All right, Monroe Anderson, thank you very much. Every Wednesday on our show, Monroe Anderson, writer, political strategist, and troublemaker extraordinaire, and proud of it.
Now, Monroe, you did get a question on the live stream chat here a couple weeks back. You made a very, very bold prediction, and we're getting a follow-up on it from Frank. What's going on, Frank? Frank wanted to know if you still think that Biden is going to win both Alabama and Mississippi.
We'll see. It depends on. No, this is it. If we get the blue tsunami that I'm thinking we're going to get, then possibly. But if this law and order thing takes root and actually depresses the fact that 1,000 people, Americans, are dying every day from Trump's mishandling of the coronavirus, then no. So it depends. I'm still thinking, personally, that the coronavirus is going to just continuously is upsetting American life. Right now, parents are trying to figure out if they should send their kids to school or keep them at home. College kids are trying to figure out if they can go to class or not. Our football season may last for 3 games and be over.
Yeah.
And so it depends on the virus.
All right. And I will tell you this, Frank.
Yes.
No way. No way. Absolutely no way. Mississippi and Alabama are going to Joe Biden. Just saying, man. I remember when Monroe said that. He was just overcome by optimism.
Right, exactly.
It's like me talking about the Bulls at the start of every year.
Frank, the reason I said that is because, as Trump told me 3.5 years ago, what do I have to lose?
All right, everybody. I want you to remember the lesson that Monroe taught us today. I'm going to use this line. Sometimes I'll give him credit. Sometimes I'll just steal it. Republicans are back shooters, and Democrats want to set up an official duel. And back shooters are going to win every time.
Right.
That was
John Wesley Hardin, who has a reputation for having killed more men in the Western days than anybody else, was a back shooter.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people he shot in the back were blacks. So he was ahead of his time. But he would have been a Trump nut if he were alive today.
Yeah. He may have been on the ticket. All right, Monroe Anderson, thank you very much. Appreciate it as always. Monroe Anderson, every Wednesday on the Ben Joravsky Show. Dennis, you got any updates for us?
Absolutely, I do have some updates here. Update involving what else when it comes to Illinois political news? A corrupt Democrat politician.
Come on, man.
Well, I'm not implying Joe Biden is one, but you know. Now, the next question comes, which politician is it? Turns out there's like 20 of them. Well, this is an update on the 14th Ward Alderman Old Ed Butterfingers Burke himself. And yes, of course, this update is brought to you in part by the 14th Ward Burger King. But before we find out that update, we're going to you. Yes, I'm talking about you, the Ben Joravsky Show listener. Ben, you have some questions from our live stream chat room. First off, you know, Jay Marie has always been writing you about this one here. She just goes, why does Ben not believe that black people are voting for Trump?
I do not. Jay Marie, I do not believe, well, literally there will be some who vote for Donald Trump, no doubt about it. But the results that I studied, and I studied it very carefully in 2016, and I've demonstrated this time and time again, showed that Trump's black vote was roughly 2%. I'm not doing that off the top of my head. It may have been below 2%, but let's just say 2%. That's just a fact. I do not believe exit polls. I don't believe they're accurate. I don't believe they're accurate for black or white. I believe they've deflated Trump's white support, and they've inflated his black support because that's how the line goes. And I also do not see how Donald Trump is making an overture that would win over black people. So if you base it on past voting patterns and the rhetoric of today, I do not see him increasing that black support over the 2% he got. And I definitely don't believe, Jay Marie, that it's 24%, which is what Jamal Green cited. I don't know what, I haven't seen the story that Jamal was citing. When we get off the air, Jay Marie, I'm going to go check it out and see for myself. But I remember, Jay Marie, back in 2004, an article that came out right before the election that showed, that claimed that George W. Bush was going to get over 20% of the black vote. And I didn't believe that either. And that was not verified by the results themselves. So there's some serious issues when it comes to polling. That is for certain. But the Republican Party has not made a concerted effort to win over black voters. They haven't. Haven't made one since, I don't know, the 50s, the Eisenhower years. And so that's just my opinion. And I have a feeling that the results will bear it out come November.
All right, you mentioned George W. Bush. We've heard your Bill Clinton and Barack Obama impressions. How about a George W. Bush impression? You got one?
No, yeah.
Strategery. Do that. Strategery.
Strategery. I can see him. I can't do strategery. I'm George W. Bush, and I approve this message.
You know what? That was pretty damn good. That's pretty damn good, Ben.
But you caught me off guard. See, I had to go back in time. You know what I'm saying? And it always have to. It takes me. I'm not like one of those guys who could do it instantaneously. I am like Dennis. I'm envious of guys like that who could just like do it. I have to go back in time and get into character and do my. First, I have to go to Will Ferrell, who does a pretty good George W. Bush.
Fantastic one.
Yeah. So, president. I'm a compassionate conservative.
I gotta say, Ben, that may be your second best impression next to Ken Davis. Well, your third, because Ken Davis, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush. That's pretty good, man.
Yeah, thank you, man. What can I say? Hey.
Yeah, that.
Jay Marie, let's have a bet, Jay Marie. Let's do the over/under on black vote for Trump. And I'll tell you what, you come to the same lunch because J Mall will be buying. with that 24%. You notice how he kind of ducked and dodged in that one, D, a little bit when I said, all right, let's put it up. Well, I'm just telling you what was in the paper, okay?
Hebida.
Anyway.
All right, more questions on the live stream chat. Guys, now's the time to do it. We got some time to kill here before we roll out. So if you got a question you've been dying to ask Ben Joravsky, now is the time to do it. Live stream chat room. All right, Jim. Jim asks us, asks you more specifically, does Ben have any thoughts on the passing of John Thompson, Georgetown University legend?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I do. I have many thoughts. John Thompson, longtime basketball coach at Georgetown. He was such a significant figure in sports, that area where sports and race come together, because he was like the first, I want to say, black coach to win. Yeah, he was the first black coach to win a championship. But he just had this presence about him, like this sort of like a defiance, like he didn't care what people said about him, didn't care about the criticism that people were slinging his way, because he felt in his heart, he had the courage of his convictions that he was doing the right thing. And so in a sense, it was like it was a black man in power in sports that I'd never seen before. And I follow sports passionately. And so it was like shattering a lot of stereotypes about like the image that black people in sports can convey, in much the way that Muhammad Ali did as well. So yeah, he was a very influential man in my life. I remember listening to his interviews a lot of times. And I'm not a huge Georgetown fan of that, just that matters nothing at all. But I was really happy when they won the championship back in 1984. And I really liked, there was a moment, this is on a tangent, when he lost a key game, I think it was in 1983, where one of his players inadvertently passed the ball to the other player. I don't know if anybody remembers this, but it was a high-profile moment in a very important playoff game, and one of his players inadvertently threw the ball to the wrong team, and they lost the game. And the way he comforted that player, the leadership he showed and the compassion he showed at that moment was really impressive. And I could see why the people who played for him loved him so much and admired him so much. So yeah, very influential man in sports, and I was sad when I heard that he died.
All right, so there you are, Jim. He was wondering about that yesterday as well, so hopefully that hooked you up, Jim. Okay. Oh, we have one more question here. This is a new live stream chatter. It says, L. Lightfoot, Ben, do you want to come over and smoke the peace pipe and sing Kumbaya? Oh, she is changing. New Leaf Lori.
Mayor Lori Lightfoot.
Whoa.
She says she's going to change her ways. We got Stacey Davis Gates will be coming on the show. I think it's Friday, D. We'll ask SDG if Lori Lightfoot's been passing her the peace pipe. That'd be really good if they're smoking the old peace pipe, you know?
All right.
That would be a sign of things are changing.
Yeah, that would be. Okay, the Edberg update coming up in moments here. But earlier we were talking about J.B. Pritzker's COVID-19 press briefing. Before that press briefing began on COVID-19, he did address another important topic that is going on at the moment, the 2020 census. Ben, it seems like we hardly talk about it. What are your thoughts on the 2020 census? And what do you have to say to someone who's listening and may be thinking of not filling it out?
Please fill your form out. It's for all the obvious reasons. And, you know, we haven't really had a discourse on this one, D. I've been noticing more and more in the newspaper editorials, essays, columns, talking about people fleeing Illinois, fleeing Chicago. This is sort of a trend. In fact, I was going to comment on this yesterday, probably bring it up tomorrow. It was like a reason given by Andy Shaw. He wrote an essay, I think, for the Tribune. Andy Shaw, the former head of the Better Government Association. Before that, he was a TV reporter for many years, very prominent man in Chicago. Wrote this essay in which he opined that he could not support the fair tax until Illinois cleaned up its act. And then he said in passing that many people agree with him, and that's why they're leaving Chicago and leaving Illinois. And so there's this notion out there that people are leaving Illinois and leaving Chicago because of the politics, because of the taxes. This is generally a Republican idea, but it's catching on. And so I would like to see, we should bring a demographer on to see if there's any truth to this, you know, what the recent population trends are showing, like are people leaving in greater numbers than before, and where are they going, et cetera, and so forth. But bottom line is this. Congressmen are apportioned according to population. Federal funding is apportioned according to population. The less people you have, the less money and congressional representation you're going to get. So that's why it's important to fill out those census forms. And that's why it's really important that Illinois can claim that it's not losing people, because we'll lose money and we'll lose congressmen and we'll lose clout. And we're already on the short end of that, by the way. I do not believe at the moment, I think it's pretty obvious that Donald Trump cares one bit about the state of Illinois. So yes, fill out those census forms.
Well, Ben, Governor J.B. Pritzker agrees. Here's JB earlier today on the census.
Every 10 years in this country, we count the number of people who live in this state. And based upon that number, the federal government gives our state funding for schools and hospitals and roads and childcare and more. And the higher the count, the more of your federal tax money comes to Illinois instead of going to other states, and the more representatives we get in Congress. Today, when Illinoisans pay our federal taxes, we're one of only 10 states that gets back less than we pay to the federal government. We can do so much better. And all of you can help by simply getting counted in the census. We're competing against all the other states, and we're doing very well so far. But we can't rest on our laurels. Right now, we are number 1 among the most populous states and number 6 overall in our response rate to the census. But there are still many neighborhoods in Chicago and towns and cities and counties all across the state that are falling behind, hovering between 30 and 50% participation.
I don't know what he's getting at when he says we're number 1 among the most populous states, number 6. I guess he's saying that in response to the census of the most populous states. I'm not quite sure I understand. I can take that. I do not understand what he's getting at, but the opening lines were lifted out of a column, I might write, or a show, one of our shows. Yes, the amount of money you get is based on the number of people in the state, unless there are political considerations. He didn't mention the political considerations. He kind of hinted at those political considerations. And the political considerations are, if you're a Republican state, Donald Trump will send you more money. If a hurricane hits a Republican state, Donald Trump will send them more aid and relief than he would if there was a Democrat. We've seen that down the line. This is politics. This is how the Republicans play the game. They take care of their own. So you'll never have an advantage. You will never get the money that you really deserve and need from the federal government if you're a blue state and you have a Republican president. That's just the way it is. I remember when Harold Washington was elected mayor of Chicago in 1983, had this radical notion that he was going to fairly distribute the money to every ward so that not one ward would get more money than another ward. It was going to just end this practice where some wards got more than others. It was a radical notion in Chicago. People were afraid of it. He turned it upside down. Fairness. Oh, what a radical idea. What a radical concept, fairness in the distribution of money. It doesn't happen in this day and age of Trump. Trump makes it clear that he's going to spend more money. Wisconsin will get more money than Illinois because he needs Wisconsin. He has written off Illinois. He doesn't care about Illinois at all. Another reason we should get rid of the electoral college system, by the way. So at the very least, we got to maximize whatever advantages we have by filling out those forms. I agree with Pritzker 100%.
You know, strong words, JB, but I got to say, I like our Chicago mayor's approach a little better.
And I'm happy to report I'm calling out the census cowboy.
Yeah!
If you see the census cowboy coming to your neighborhood, that's not a good thing. That means you got to step up and do your part and make sure that you fill out the census. He's going to be going to the 10 communities across Chicago that have the lowest census response rate. And it's time to giddy up. Let's do this, Chicago. Let's make the census cowboy proud.
Howdy, partner.
It's time to giddy up. I don't think I've ever heard the "it's time to giddy up" part before, D. That's pretty fun. It's time to giddy up.
Maybe I'll take just that part and make it a future clip on the show.
That's really good. Maybe I wasn't paying attention to that one. It's time to giddy up. Okay.
All right, now to our Alderman Burke update. The following comes from the Chicago Sun-Times and John Seidel. The headline reads, Alderman Ed Burke's lawyer warns of staggering amount of evidence, long cross-examination, if he ever gets to trial. Hey, who did that? All right, let's read this article here. A lawyer for Alderman Edward Burke said Wednesday the cross-examination of a single witness in Burke's federal criminal case could last more than a week if the longtime politician ever goes to trial. He also said the amount of evidence prosecutors have yet to turn over to them about potential witnesses in the case is, quote, staggering and unprecedented, which means it could still be quite some time until the 14th Ward alderman goes to trial on a blockbuster racketeering indictment leveled against him more than a year ago. U.S. District Judge Robert Dow told lawyers during a hearing in the case Wednesday that it'd be premature to set a trial date using anything other than a, quote, very erasable pencil. Ben, your thoughts?
Well, boy, does this expose the... what is it? The double standards, the shifting standards in our criminal justice system. Yes. White collar crime, like the one that Ed Burke is accused of. When you have a defendant with the amount of money that Ed Burke has, who can hire the lawyers that Ed Burke can hire, you could drag things out a long, long time. And money talks. We just got finished talking about how money talks in the political arena. This is money talking in the criminal justice arena. And by the way, we're going to see the same thing with Kyle Rittenhouse, the 17-year-old from Antioch who shot two people in Kenosha. His lawyers already said they're bringing in, I think he called it a SEAL team defense squad, the best lawyers in the country. The money would be no object because they're going to raise it through fundraising. And so it's... Ed Burke is going to drag this thing out for as long as he can. He's got huge reservoirs of money that he's raised down through the years. Adolfo Mondragon has argued that that money should not be available to pay his legal fees. Apparently, nobody's listening to Adolfo because he's got a lot of money. And I got a feeling that it will be another year before Ed Burke goes to trial.
All right, I guess we're going to have to wait and see what happens with that one. Seriously, who keeps doing that? And
hey, Dennis,
what?
Can I just say one thing?
What?
Giddy up. All right? Giddy up. Giddy up.
Moo, buckaroo. Here we go. All right, and we do have a follow-up on Madigan Gate. But like I said earlier today, boy, it's been a slow news week, really, in Illinois and Chicago. So we're just going to go ahead and hold that one until tomorrow. How about that, Ben?
I think that's a good idea.
And, of course, follow us on social media at Benny J Show, BENNY, the letter J Show, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Send us an email, bennyjshow@gmail.com. And, of course, you can call us. You can leave us a voicemail. That's right. We have a phone number, 708-658-4788. That number again, 708-658-4788. Give us a call.
Come on, man.
Get me every time with that. Come on, man. Anyway, I want to thank our guest, Jamal Green, Monroe Anderson, outstanding job. And, of course, I want to thank the man, the myth, the legend, the pride and joy of Alton, Illinois, without whom the show would not be possible. And it's J. Maul Green and Monroe Anderson and Mayor Lori Giddy Up Lightfoot will tell you, back home in Alton, they call him Dr. D. Give yourself a raise, take it out of petty cash. See you tomorrow, everybody.
And hey, remember, you can download previous Ben Joravsky shows and Benny J bonus interviews at both Chicago Sun-Times and Chicago Reader websites and wherever else you download your favorite podcasts.